This podcast is sponsored by Scispot, the best tech stack for modern biotech.
I think doing the citizen science and DIY bio, the sort of like biohacker stuff, was really interesting at the time in 2014 and 2013. That was when a lot of new communities were starting up and thinking about this idea of like, how do we program DNA the same way we program computers, and encouraging a lot of that kind of exploration, which, like, you know, is an interesting concept, and ultimately boils down to like some really cool things in like just citizen science. Just having citizens participate in science was like one of the cool outcomes of that particular movement.
If this AI revolution, will it reduce number of experiments or increase number of wet lab experiments? Right, I was telling him that it will reduce number of wet lab experiments, because you'll be able to test the hypotheses and really figure out what experiments to even run. Right, so you will do most of these things in silico, but in real life, you will, once you are sure, this is gonna work, then you're gonna run those experiments with more certainty, with lower error rate. Right, currently we run these experiments expecting it will fail, but I think when two of these worlds, digital worlds and wet lab, dry lab and wet lab, combine, you make less mistakes. Or maybe no mistakes in the future. When we get there, then I don't think it will be called experiments. It will be more engineering, right? So there are other school of thought, which is you will be doing more experiments, right? Because it will democratize running experiments too, right? So it will reduce experiments for individuals, but there'll be more individuals, or more labs, more companies, maybe solo entrepreneur starting and scaling biotech companies, right? One person doing tens of experiments, most of them in silico, few of them in the wet lab, and then going to production through collaboration. It's just a very strange world.
Genes and to test them and so on and so forth. And now things are advancing to the point where, like, ordering DNA online and having it show up at your doorstep and be ready to use in your experiments is so much more a routine thing, and it's low enough cost and fast enough service that you can really rely on it for like all kinds of things and do, like, you know, huge amounts of experiments really easily.
But it's our job, the industry's job, to make things so easy and like Lego pieces, right? So I don't have to know what's going on in my laptop to use it, right? In personalized computing world. That's the hope of biotech, that every individual will be qualified to play God, right? So do their own biotech.
And also to build systems where, like, we don't have to systems of collaboration where even the resources like DNA and materials and strains can be shared more freely within our community, because there's like a good network and a good sense of community where people can ask each other for things, or maybe even establish resources where there's like hubs for DNA synthesis or exchange of like strains and other kinds of resources. Like server architecture and like cloud computing type stuff, where if you want to get computing power for running your apps and stuff, like that's, you know, there's commercial solutions for that, and there's also some like, you know, digital solutions from that are government resources that you can get access to for computing power. But for biological like resources, for biological like experimentation power, you know, there's an interesting question of like, how do we create resources that are like that, where you can get access to either resources or even experimentation, or like, you know, the biofoundry concepts where it's like you get access to some automation, high throughput experimentation, things like that.